gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today I am happy to have, well, the first time ever on my show, a Jeopardy champion on the show, Mr. Shaun. Contestant. I apologize.
The daily double sunk me, but it's okay.
Oh, it's always the daily double, isn't it, Shaun?
It's always the daily double.
Shaun Gold here, coming in, author, polymath. You're a man of 1,000 hats, it looks like, Shaun. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing, sir?
Well, thank you for that awesome introduction. I love the music. It's great. The one thing I hate about podcasts, because I do a lot, is I don't have theme music, and they're very unprepared. So I'm already excited. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction. Ready to get into it.
So, Shaun, you're this amazing serial entrepreneur. You help businesses grow. You do coaching. You do a lot. But my question is, what got you started? Like, what is the reason why you do this business, this world that you're in?
Primarily because I need money. I think that's number one. I think even I mean, going back as far as when I was a kid, it's just I need money. I mean, there's no grand, story of like, oh, I had a vision when I was doing this for a company that could do this better. No, I needed money. That's it. And when you're a kid, no one wants to hire you, so you have to kind of do your own thing. And now that I'm an adult, nobody still wants to hire me, so you got to do your own thing. So it's just been a lifetime of being an entrepreneur in a variety of different verticals, working with so many different people, and really just testing myself and seeing what my potentialities are and what I can deliver on. And I think kind of my greatest accolade is that I've never been truly employed. I've never had a 9 to 5, 8 to 6, or a desk, or a real job, or any of that. I feel like if I can keep that going for the rest of my life, it will be a life well lived.
That is a life well lived. And that's success in your own words, and that's how you view success. That's great. And that going through your stuff, your website, you have a lot of stuff, and you've written a lot of books. How did you get, because being an entrepreneur, you're usually they write books on entrepreneurial subjects, but you have books on multiple different subjects. You have fiction, nonfiction, help. How? That's the only thing I have. Like, how?
One word at a time. I mean, listen, I have a lot of natural curiosity. And the books came about because for years people kept saying, to me, you should write a book. You should write a book. So I did. And now it's your turn. You should write a book. Again, writing to me is kind of second nature. I've released 4 books. I've kind of stopped to focus more on graphic novels, to focus more on my newsletter, to focus more on TV shows and film scripts. I have my first feature film that hopefully at the start of the year will be in pre-production. I already have a pretty dope director attached. I have a production studio attached. So it's just a matter of raising the proper financing and attaching the talent. So again, writing is second nature to me. It just, the blank page kind of scares the majority of people. But to me, the blank page it holds infinite possibility. If it was a full page, there'd be nothing to do, but when it's blank, I can do what I want with it. It's malleable. So again, writing to me, it's just something I do every day. I mean, my, I have a newsletter that goes out to almost 24,000 subscribers every Sunday, like clockwork. I have content I do for various startups and funds that goes out whenever they need it to go out. So, it's not something that's challenging to me. What's challenging to me is probably, if I had to write like a 500,000 word epic novel, it wouldn't be impossible, but that'd be a little challenging.
It would be like trying to climb a mountain. It's like it's doable. It's just going to take me some time
It
to
would.
crush it out.
It wouldn't be something I could do in a week or a month. It would take a long time to do, but it's not impossible. It's just a matter of if I wanted to do it. But yeah, it's again, if you really want to do something, you'll do it, and if you don't, you'll just make excuses. And with anything I've ever set out to do, I've always done. I don't make excuses. You know, there has to be a way to get it done if I really want to do it.
No, it's true. And your proof of concept is that look at all you've accomplished so far in the business world. Um, you started off in the nightlife world.
That's before, but I've been an entrepreneur since I was like a kid. But that's kind of what I'm primarily known for, notorious for, being the nightlife ninja, former nightlife ninja.
How did you
I
get the
mean,
nightlife ninja name? How did that come
it.
about? Oh,
I created it. I mean, you have to understand the world of nightlife. You have to deal with drug addicts, dropouts, and deadbeats, and those are just your colleagues and coworkers. So, you know, you wanna essentially brand yourself and become something more than just like a connection, a plug, as the kids today say. But yeah, I fell in love with it when I was 17. That's what I wanted to do with my life. That was just like, the Nexus Point watershed moment was, going to the Bahamas at 17 on spring break, throwing some parties, realizing that I was extremely good at it, realized that it was the coolest thing ever to me. And that's what kind of drove the direction of my life. I chose the University of Miami for college over the University of Michigan. Everybody thought I was crazy because, I was choosing Suntan U over a real school. And I only chose University of Miami because of its proximity to nightlife, and I went there with the sole purpose of creating the college experience, not having one and following everyone else, but creating it for myself and everyone else and starting a business. And, it's funny. That was when I was, 17, 18. And, I'm 19 now. Good times. But no, now we're like 2 decades later. I don't do it anymore really, and I still get calls for the crowd. I mean, it's just it's like from people that are like, we heard you're the guy for the crowd, and it's like you're old enough to have your own kids in college. Find your own crowd, Yeah, but that's what I did, and I mean, it was kind of a thing that led me to work with major brands and work with probably close to 100 different nightclubs and festivals and mansions and celebrities and athletes. I mean, that was entrepreneurship to me. That was, why am I going to try and get a day job when I could just show up Friday, Saturday, and maybe like Thursday night from say 11 to 1 in the morning and call it even and have the rest of my time free, so that's what it was. And I mean, it was just, being available, because if I had a real job, which nobody wanted to hire me, so that was no problem. But if I had a real job, I would get calls to do, we're renting a private mansion. We need you to do something Thursday afternoon. Are you in? Of course I am in, or, we got a bunch of celebrities that are doing something on a yacht on a Friday afternoon. Are you in? I can't just say, well, let me check with my manager. Can we move that meeting? Can I like, it's, it just wouldn't fit. So, I mean, that was the path that I forged. I chose nightlife, or more like, I think nightlife chose me. But that single decision as a 17-year-old kid to follow my passion, when everybody in my entire existence, everybody said it was the wrong move, the guidance counselor, my teachers, my best friends, my family, and I just had to follow what I wanted to do. It was the best decision I ever made. And it's the hardest decision, I think, most people, when they have that decision, regardless if it's entrepreneurship or not, to actually follow what your heart tells you to do. I mean, it sounds very cliche, but it's extremely difficult to do because, I did it at a time when there was no social media. Mm-hmm. Imagine if I had to do it and then I had a bunch of strangers and on all these platforms watching me and watching if I was going to fail or succeed. But you kind of have to forge your own path, because if you can see the path laid out before you, you're on somebody else's. And everybody likes to follow the path, but you're not going to live up to what you're capable of if you're following somebody else's. You're just going to go on the assembly line of career and of life, and that's it. That's not for me. For me, I'd rather take the pain, take the obstacles, take the challenges, and carve my own way.
question. I like how you brought up the pain and the painful aspect of being an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, because there is pain, because it's sometimes it's like, am I making payroll? Will I be able to pay rent? Because especially when you probably started out, I have no idea, but at a 17-year-old, when you're trying to make your name in the Miami nightlife that's full of, drug addicts, criminals, and all the fun people, and those are just your colleagues. Um,
Yes.
how how like worried were you that you weren't going to make it, or were you like, I know I'm going to make it, this is not a question of if, it's a question of when?
So, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried. I mean, you gotta understand. I came into this university system where I didn't live on campus because I finagled a way to get like a place close by, so I didn't have this like community, right? I only knew one person who was 2 years ahead of me, and that was it. He wasn't much of like a partier. So, my biggest fear was just not being able to make it happen. Like it was just something where you know, I tried different things and it would just everything would fail. And the pain of failure and the stigma of failure is very difficult for many to bear. But I knew I was capable of it. I knew that I was probably using the wrong strategy, and I knew that I could accomplish it. But that didn't take away the doubt. That didn't take away the worry. That didn't take away the fact that you have limited resources. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to live with that. I mean, everybody wants to have the right skills to be an entrepreneur, and they all say the same stupid stuff. Where it's like, you gotta know how to sell, and you gotta have a network, and you gotta build a better mousetrap, and you gotta focus on a niche, and blah blah blah. I think the number one skill for an entrepreneur is the capacity to suffer and to do it gracefully and to keep going forward. That's the number one skill. To endure the doubt, to endure people laughing at you, to endure people ignoring you, to endure people saying no to you, to endure the path that you have to create. Because it wasn't until my junior year of college that I really became like the guy. It wasn't. It took 2 years. It wasn't like I got to campus and I was like, I'm Shaun Gold. Where's my VIP table and where are my clients? It was a lot of failures. It was a lot of setbacks. There's a lot of people laughing at me. There was a lot of people not believing. And it took time for me to kind of like build a reputation for people to take a chance on and then go back and tell their friends, this guy's the real deal. And then I don't think I found mainstream success until probably 3 years after that. It's ironic because, you know, the biggest revenue drivers I had, the biggest events, all that stuff came after I was out of college, but still doing parties for college kids.
Mhm.
So it wasn't, I mean, I was still doing a bunch of stuff when I was a student, but it was really after I was an alumni after I graduated that, I just was kind of, that's when I had the most success. It also helps that you're not a student. You don't have to worry about getting kicked out of school or failing, both of which were real threats and almost happened. um, you know, but it's really something, that, in Silicon Valley, the term is the valley of death. Okay. There's something in the startup journey. It's called the valley of death. And that's essentially what happens is when you've released your product to the public and nothing happens. Okay. You've put all this money that you've taken, either that you've put in or you've taken from outside investors, and you've built this product or the service offering and you release it to the public and you expect it to be like, okay, look at the downloads, look at the signups, and then nothing happens. So you have like on the chart, you go down and it either stays down or you come up. But it happens to every business. I wish someone told me about it before I experienced it. But these are things that you have to know about. No one's going to tell you prepare for the valley of death. They're going to tell you grow at all costs and make a deck and go on Shark Tank. They're going to tell you all this stuff. But the reality of it is, it's very hard to get complete strangers to put a credit card in to buy something from you, especially if you're not as cool as you think you are, especially in their mind. So, facing doubt, difficulties, setback, obstacles, that's the normal part of the process. And the capacity to suffer is, I think, it's a trait that no one wants to talk about, but you need to have, Henry Ford, before he was Henry Ford and created the assembly line and made cars a thing, he failed twice. He had two companies that went bankrupt. Nobody knew that. Abraham Lincoln, before he was the greatest president in the entire history of the United States, was his entire life was a failure. He was a failed businessman. He was a failed lawyer. He was just this awkward, gangly, depressed guy. One of the stories I always use with Harry Truman, who's probably one of the greatest presidents of the 20th century, is that, you know, in the 1920s, Harry Truman was a bankrupt, broke businessman. Business failed, nothing. But within 2 decades, he was the most powerful person in the entire planet. So it's not essentially where you are now as an entrepreneur. It's the direction that you're moving. And that's regardless of whatever vertical you're in. And it really comes down to the mindset, and it really comes down to, you know, the ability to experiment and the ability to keep going despite the failures, and the ability to coexist with negative thoughts that you might have, and the thoughts of your peers in the crowd that are probably telling you, don't quit your day job, or you should do this, or you should go into that, or you should do this, because, you know, everybody has to be right because they're incapable of being anything else. So you have to kind of tune all that out and focus on what you want to focus on.
That is just great advice. Like I was just sitting there just like, yep, okay, taking that, because, you know, dealing with the negative thoughts, they're thoughts from other people that are put inside your head to make you doubt yourself because they're doubting themselves. And the
Exactly.
fact, like, you just have to ignore that and still go through. It's going to be painful, but everything worthwhile is painful because all that greatness is on the other side of the discomfort. Now, I want to talk about this new VC fund. Are we able to talk about that?
We can talk a little bit about it because legally it's the structure is there, but we haven't launched yet. So
all right, so let's jump off that.
Yeah, it's coming soon. Stay tuned. They'll come back in maybe 3 months and we can talk about it.
I would be more than happy to have you back on to talk about that. Let's talk about your media brand, Utopian Journey. Utopian Journey. What's the idea behind this brand?
So when I was in lockdown, like everybody during the pandemic, not lockdown in Miami because that's everybody, you know, not house arrest like my coworkers, my former coworkers. No, in lockdown I wanted to use my time wisely. You know, nobody knew what was coming. Nobody kind of had a sense of what tomorrow looked like, but we were all doing the same thing. We were in this together and watching Tiger King, or, you know, doing some other stupid thing. So I wanted to do something that could put my creative, you know, my creative thoughts to use. I wanted to do a little pandemic project. I wanted to focus my energies into something positive. So, you know, I created essentially Utopian Journey, which is a comic book for mental wellness. It's a graphic novel for, you know, entrepreneurs, creatives, aspirationals, anyone that needs a guide of just how to move forward. The problem is that I didn't have a following. I didn't really have, you know, I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, but this was something that wasn't going to require like investors. It was me. And as being someone we already talked about that liked to write, I wanted to create something that, okay, I can just build a following through writing and put my thoughts out there and gauge it. So, you know, I spent the pandemic, at least the first year, reading, researching, making connections, testing out the art. And then 2021, I launched the Substack for it. So, you know, we're almost 2 years into it. And yeah, through it, I mean, it's opened a lot of doors. I've collaborated with a lot of different people. I got to speak at different universities. You know, it's having a positive effect. I mean, it's probably the most fulfilling thing I've done, just because I get messages from people all over the world that, you know, I would never meet, that are thanking me for writing it, and that it's resonating with them, and it's, you know, giving them the motivation to go after what they want. So, you know, it's really cool. You know, it's something to me that I can be proud of. It's not something that's like, you know, oh, I tried a startup that nobody wanted and, you know, it never materialized, which has happened, and I don't think about it. This is something that's always on my mind, because the end user is someone that truly benefits. You know, it's not something where it's like a new kind of app or a new kind of social media widget or whatever. This is something that you read it at your own convenience. You have the art that demonstrates key plot parts of the story and plots of the story. And it's going to have a comic book that's it's going to be digital, but maybe we'll do it physical. And it's just something that I wanted to do, that, you know, it was just something really unique, that I wanted to take all my knowledge from psychology, from philosophy, from history, science, and put it into one thing in a medium that really it hasn't been used before. Because when you think of comic books, you think of, you know, Iron Man and Superman and all that stuff. But I want to do something that, you know, someone could read as a guide. They can go to one of the pages, and that page will be dealing with following, your passion, or another page will be dealing with mentorship, or another page will be dealing with, taking back your time. And it's very easy to examine. It's not a lot of heavy reading, and you see it through the art. And then every page ends with a quote from a different thinker, philosopher, scientist, psychologist. Usually ones I've come across that are not general knowledge.
I love that. That's a great resource for any entrepreneur, anybody looking to get into entrepreneur that has to deal with this stupid thing that we call a brain. That's always trying. It's trying to keep us safe, but keep us always in our comfort zone, which isn't where we want to grow. In your journey so far, have you had a moment, or apart from the Jeopardy? Because I let's ask the Jeopardy. What was it like meeting Trebek,
I mean,
the
it was
legend?
awesome. I'm the last contestant to ever high five him. So,
Jesus.
it's twice. The first one was on there. The second was during the credits. But yeah, it was super cool. I mean, listen, I come from a world of like, dealing with celebrities. So I'm never like starstruck.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had dinner with celebrities and I had celebrity clients. So I keep it cool. But like Trebek's on another level because that's like, everybody knows him. So it was extremely cool. I mean, it was on my list of things to accomplish, and just went after it. Most people they want to do something, but they don't go after it because it's too hard, or it's too difficult, or it seems too out of reach. I just don't have that in me. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to try harder the next time. And that's kind of how like the Jeopardy thing came about, because I'm sure there's millions of people around the country that are like, oh, I could go on that show, but they don't take the test. And everyone's always like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, you got to take the test. You got to pass the test. And then if you pass the test, you got to go to an audition and take 2 more tests. And you got to pass those tests. So the statistics usually, I don't know if they are now, but when I went on it a few years back, it was like 80,000 people took the test, 2,500 passed. Out of the 2,500, 300 passed the other test and were chosen. So it's very, very difficult to get on that stage because these questions are just the most random things. You have to kind of
Yeah.
be on your game. You can't really mess around with it. You either know it or you don't.
So this is one of the highlights of your life, obviously. You mentioned that before. Would you have another moment or another memory in your journey as an entrepreneur that you would like to share that really highlights just something that you're like, yeah, this is it?
It's really hard to nail down one moment. I feel like, there's a million micro moments that lead up to the one
So,
moment,
yeah.
there's a million like little victories, and those build the foundations for who we are, whether it's an entrepreneur or not. But essentially, I mean, I'd have to really think because, you know, I'm constantly evolving as a person. So the moment that was cool to me at 22 is not the moment that's cool to me, now.
Mhm.
Um, I think though one of the ones that was kind of like, again, it was cheesy, but to me it was like the moment was on my 22nd birthday. We had this there's a venue in South Beach. I had a marquee. So, they put my name on the marquee, and this is like again before social media, but people were like driving down the street and it said like, tonight, happy birthday, Shaun Gold. So like for
Oh,
years, that was like the moment because I took a picture of it. I had a picture in front of it. And like people can't believe it. People like for years later, they'd come up to me and be like, your name was on the marquee because like that was reserved for like, tonight, Britney Spears, or tonight,
big names. Yeah.
big names, and you have my name. So it was super cool, because not everyone could get it. And that was kind of like the thing where it was like, how do you get that? Especially, you're 22 years old. So that was a big thing because again, it takes years to see the results of your efforts, and that's, I think if there's one thing I could tell everyone listening, regardless if they're going to be an entrepreneur or not, it's that whatever you do is going to take years. And you're not going to see it within 6 months. You're not going to see it within a year. You're going to see progress, but you're not going to see like the fruits of your labor until like a few years in. I mean, I remember getting into the nightlife when I was 17 years old. I remember Halloween of when I was 17, and everyone I knew was going to this nightclub, and I didn't have any connections, and I couldn't get in. And was the Halloween of when I was a senior in high school, and everyone was doing all this fun stuff. And here I was stuck at home, and I went out to pick up my friend at Jamba Juice who got into a fight with his girlfriend. That was it. I felt like the biggest loser. But 3 years later, okay, same night, when I'm 20 years old, I'm running the biggest Halloween party in South Beach at the nicest club. Like if you would have told me when I was 17, I'd be doing that. I'd be like, I want to believe,
Yeah.
So you have to really, you don't know where your life's going to go. You have to just keep, working away at it, hacking away at it, whether it's your business, whether it's personal growth, whatever the case may be. And you will change as a person. You will see those results. It just takes a long time because you have to learn how to navigate. You have to learn how to maneuver. You have to learn what works and what doesn't. And you have to, be able to have staying power. I think the thing that causes most people to fail is not a lack of resources or anything like that, what they attribute to their failures. I think it's that, they don't have the staying power. And it goes back to what I said earlier. You have to be able to sit there and take the arrows and take the stones and take the pain so that you can come out on the other side. I think St. Thomas Aquinas said that if any captain cared about the condition of his ship, it would never leave ports. And that's kind of, one of the mantras for my life. It's kind of like, yeah, you can be safe and you could be fine and you could just sit there and it's fine. But if you really want to like venture and test yourself and try to achieve something, you can, but it's not going to be easy and you're going to have to do it and no one can do it for you. It's not easy. If it was easy, we would all be successful. Yeah. We would all be, racking up the accolades. We would all be rich and fabulous and blah, blah, blah. But it's not because it's very hard. And, it takes a certain kind of personality to understand the difficulties and still pursue it regardless.
So true. And this is a great, unfortunately, it's coming to the end. And I hate this because I'm having a great time talking with you, Shaun. You're passing out golden nuggets here. I'm just like,
Pun intended.
Yeah, golden. Oh, yes. Oh, I love it. I can make puns on someone else's name and not have my name be the pun.
Exactly.
For the first time. It's a golden opportunity for me here, Shaun. But I want to know if you could design a museum exhibit representing you, what items would you put on display?
That's the most interesting question I've ever had on a podcast. So,
that is thanks to Spark by Seek Discomfort, the YouTube channel. You should go ahead and buy it. But yes, so what would be in your museum exhibit, Shaun?
A BlackBerry, because I was the last one to use one until this year, and they told me they were discontinuing service. For like 13 years I had a BlackBerry because I could instantly mass text like 10,000 people. I was just like, okay, my day's done. And then that'd be it. So definitely it would be a BlackBerry. It would probably be like one of my T-shirts that I used to wear out when I was throwing parties, my blazer that I used to wear over the T-shirt. Trying to think what else. One of my comic book pages, one of my books. I don't know, the Jeopardy buzzer I used. I mean, like, there's a lot.
I think the podium should be the whole thing, not just the buzzer, the whole podium too.
My preserved hand that I high-fived Trebek with and shook the hands of many other celebrities and even a presidential candidate. We'll have the hand in a jar. we'll have in the formaldehyde preserved.
There we go.
Yeah, I guess. That's what it comes to right now. I'm sure if I gave it some thought, we could put some other things, but yeah, I think those are the things that kind of come to mind. Yeah, I think that'd be it.
I think that those would be some great things because it's all different points in your life, and especially finishing off with your hand that has, like you said, shooken and high-fived many of powerful people.
And fist bumped.
Fist bumped. Yeah. Can't forget 2020 and 2021 was the life of fist bumping.
Yeah.
Shaun, I'm going to jump off screen here. I want you to let my audience know where they can find and follow you, especially with your mental health comic that you're putting out.
Are we going to have links? We're going to have links at the
bottom?
Of
course.
Okay.
Don't worry. I always come back and say the show. I'm a professional, Shaun. I have intro music. Come on.
I know. That's true. Okay.
All right. Here, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. You can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, follow me on LinkedIn, follow me in person. I'd love to hug you, give you a high five. You can sign up to Utopian Journey for free. link below. Follow, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just mention that you watched me on the Invest in Yourself podcast. I don't respond to LinkedIn connections that do not have a message. So drop me a message, or else I think you're going to be trying to sell me an Arby's franchise, or you want my money in your startup. You can follow me on Twitter at UtopianJ. That's the one I primarily use. And of course, feel free to DM me. I will respond if you mention that you saw me here. And love to chat with you.
Awesome, Shaun. I want to thank you very much for being an amazing guest, sharing so many golden nuggets of from your life, and just wisdom from all the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years. Of course, to my audience, like Shaun said, the links to connect with him will be down in the show notes down below. So please do go ahead and listen, follow him, read his stuff. His comic book is actually really, really worth it. It's fabulous. I'm actually on the list.
Thank you.
So it is great. It's not just saying that because he's a guest. I am before he became a guest, I was reading it so that I could get more knowledge. And I have to say, the art is fabulous.
Thank
and
you.
Obviously the story is great too. But I'm always drawn more to the art because it's so visually and it's very pleasing. So yes, go ahead and check out Utopian down below. And Shaun, once again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'd give you a high five, but we're not together.
One day we will high five. I am holding you to that high five. And to my audience, remember to always invest in yourself.